Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here to introduce another project. This is of course a project I was going to bring back this year though, because it is a project created by me. This is Project Level Up, which is a project that I created I think now 2 years ago. Is it the third year I'm doing it now? I think so. And it's basically a project that I created because I love hitting pan on eyeshadows, but I also felt like I was neglecting the rest of the palette. So, you know, if I got a shade into Pan Those Eyeshadows, for example, I would just focus on that shade and not use the rest of the palette at all. Or also, sometimes if I was randomizing shades to use in Pan Those Eyeshadows, sometimes I hit pan on a shade that really wasn't a favorite shade in that palette, and then it kind of became a skewed view of what my palette looked like. I felt like, you know, I could have pan on like 4 of my least favorite shades, and then my favorite shades looked barely used. So that is 2 of the reasons why I wanted to create this project. And basically, if you're new to this project, there is 2 main rules in this project, and that is to use the whole palette and also to hit pans. And I'll talk you through the rules a bit more in a second. But before I do that, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. Let's jump into the video. So again, there is, like you said, 2 parts to it. So how it works is that you start off by level 1. So for level 1, you randomize a palette, and you have to use each shade in the palette at one time and then hit 1 pan. Once you have completed that goal, you can then level up to level 2. So you randomize a new palette, and that will be a level 2 palette where you then have to use every single shade twice and then hit 2 pans, and so on. You keep going up to level 2, 3, 4, 5, and then when you get to level 5, you have an option. So I put in like a little bit of a, you know, out, I guess, for level 5, because after level 5 it can become quite hard. You have to use every single shade 6 times, 7 times, and so on, and also hit 6, 7 pans, depending on how far up you go. So for level 5, once you complete that, I did put in the option to reset it back to level 1, and that is what I've done every single year. I haven't quite decided what I want to do this year, if I want to continue past level 5 or if I want to reset it again. If you have any like preferences, let me know in the comments, because I'm actually really torn this year what to do. But of course, we'll have a couple of months to decide. So again, let me know what you want to see this year in the comments. If you prefer, go back to level 1 so you can get a few more palettes in, or if you want to see how far I can get with like level 6, 7, and so on. Because I feel like if I do go back to level 1, then I will, you know, work on more palettes. Whereas if I do, you know, level 6, 7, and so on, I might hit more pans. So it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, but let me know what you prefer, because again, I am considering both options this year. So that is like the main gist of the project. Everyone does it a little bit differently. I will have a community playlist down below with everyone who has taken part of this project since they first started. It's like a rolling playlist that I have created, you know, with everyone for all the years. So if you really want to binge this project, you can check that playlist down below. I also have done it personally, so if you want to check out my personal kind of Project Level Up videos, I will also have them linked down below with the previous playlists. So again, everyone does it differently, but for me personally, I do have an option to veto palettes. So I do again randomize them, and I very, very rarely use a veto, but I do have, or I do allow myself 3 vetoes in a year for palettes. So let's say I randomize a palette that I really don't want to work on. Or, you know, it might be like one of my really large palettes, like my Metropolis palette that has 28 shades, for example, for level 5. That would be quite hard, and I might not feel it, or, you know, it might be something that I don't feel like works with the season. Anything like that, I can veto it. But again, I only have 3 vetoes for the whole year, so it's not like I can do it every single round or anything like that. I have to be quite strict, which is something that I like personally, but I love having that option just in case. So that is something that I allow myself. Someone also asked me to, in my finale video, they asked me to maybe not allow palettes that I worked on last year to be included this year either. And I think that might be a good idea. It means that I can have new palettes to work on, and also, you know, the palettes that I worked on in this project last year might already have quite a few pans, especially at the higher levels. So doing new palettes for this year might make sense. So I think I'm gonna introduce that too. And I do have my Tiny Decisions app. I'm trying to open it up quickly now. So I do have all my palettes in here, and you can see some of them are blacked out. Those are the ones that were blacked out from last year. So those are the ones that I worked on. And just for reference, there's 6 of them. I did actually work on 7 palettes, but one of them have been decluttered. So the palettes that I have on here that I won't include this year because I worked on them last year is the At First Sight palette, the Sultry palette, the Midnight Sun palette, the Merry Christmas palette, Love Notes, and California Coast. So those are the only ones that I will exclude, and again, it's just because I worked on them last year. But I think apart from that, that is all my rules. Sometimes if I roll, like for example, my Pat McGrath palette, I think that's like the only time. Or actually, I've also done it for my large Natasha Denona palettes. So twice I've done this. But if I roll a Pat McGrath palette or Natasha Denona palette, for example, I think those are the only 2 brands I would do this for. I would do 30 uses or pan, but I can allow myself to do that. But normally I hit pan within 30 uses anyway, but it's only for those really, really hard formulas. So if I roll a palette like that and I don't want to veto it, I might introduce that rule. But if that happens, I will talk you through that when it happens, and I'll cover that in that case. But I wanted to mention it anyway because it is, I guess, like a specific rule for me, but it's very rare that I use it. But that is, I think, it for all my rules. So I'm going to go ahead and actually randomize my palette. So this is going to be the palette that I'm going to work on. Again, I have the wheel right here, and I'm going to go ahead and randomize. This is very exciting, but also very nerve-wracking. So let's see what I get. You'll see it before me probably. That is, I can't see, Nude Light Obsessions. Perfect. I love that palette. It is from Huda Beauty. It is a 9-pan palette, and I have a couple pans in it already, but it's one that I absolutely love, and I'm excited to reach for that one. So let me go and pick it out, and I'll show you what the palette looks like. So this is the palette right here. This is the Nude Light Obsessions from Huda Beauty. I will insert some swatches and what the palette looks like so you can see, but it is a beautiful, again, 9-pan palette, and I already have 3 pans in here. I do have 4 matte shades and 2 shimmer shades without pan, and I think this one is going to work quite nicely. It's a good everyday palette for me, and I think it's quite nice for the season too. It is a bit more kind of pinky leaning, but it also has some more peachy undertones, which will work more when we get into spring, although I think I will, finish my goal on this one much earlier than spring. I think it will be quite quickly because, again, it's only 9 shades. I can probably do, the usage of 1 used each in at least in 1 or max 2 looks probably. And then when hitting pan, it depends on which one I focus on. If I go for one of the shimmers, I think it will be quite quick because I think I know these pans are quite shallow, and I haven't used these 2 shimmers too much, but I think they will be quite easy to get through because they're a little bit chunkier, it looks like. Or I might go for one of the mattes, but I do have a lot of mattes in my Panda palette, but this light pink might work nicely as like a transition shade because most of if you know my Panda palette, which is the Soft Glam palette from Anastasia, I only have really very deep shades left in there, or like mid to deep shades. So I think some of these lighter shades might work quite well. So I might work on this one or this one just for some variety, because I feel like I always choose shimmer shades, and it's quite nice sometimes to work on mattes too. And because I think this is going to be quite an easy palette anyway, it might be nice to work on one of the mattes. So what I'm foreseeing is it's going to be quite easy again to hit the 1 use goal, and then I think I'm going to reach for either this one, or one of the 2 shimmer shades for my pan. But I think I will do the 1 use each first, and then see how I like each shade, and then decide which one I want to hit pan on. But yeah, I'm very happy with my selection. I think it's going to be a great level 1 palette. I don't think it's going to take too long, so hopefully I can have a new palette rolling in already in month 1. Because again, especially if I choose one of those shimmer shades, again, I think it's not going to take too many uses. And so far, well, at least when I'm filming this, I don't have too many shades rolled into projects yet. I'm yet to film my Pan Those Eyeshadows, and then like my deco panning and stuff like that. But I think eyeshadow wise, most of my shades have now rolled in. So, there is quite a few shades in my Panda palette this year, but overall, I don't think there's like too many shades that I feel like I'm working on right now. So I still feel like I have a lot of opportunities to reach for this palette, and maybe I'll take advantage of that before I start feeling overwhelmed with all the eyeshadows that I'm panning. And yeah, we'll see. But also I just realized I think this palette will work really nicely as well with the shade from the Huda Beauty Gold Obsessions that I'm panning in my rolling project pan, because I have a shade in there that I'm also trying to finish. So I think that will work quite nicely with this palette too. So overall, very, very happy with this palette. I kind of wish it would come in for a higher level, to be honest, because it's such an easy palette for me to reach for. But I'm just happy that I get to work on this one because it is a favorite, and as you can see, I do have some pans in it and some decent use, but I will always love to show this palette more use and more love because it is one of my favorites. So that is going to be it for my introduction for Project Level Up. If you're doing this project this year, let me know in the comments. I do try to make sure to add everyone into the playlist, but if for some reason I've forgotten to add you, or if I don't see your video, let me know. Or if you're doing it on Instagram or just on your own time, you can keep me updated in the comments for my own updates, because I love hearing from you guys and I love following along with your projects in the comment section. So make sure to keep me updated there. But I hope you guys are having an amazing day wherever you are, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye guys.